VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker. We're 5 days away from Buccaneers at Vikings. Week 1, the Vikings are favored by 6 points. It's actually one of the bigger lines, favorites, point spreads in the NFL this week. Just less than a week away. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do some predictions tomorrow. Talk with Josh Fry about storylines that he's monitoring and how the Vikings can win a Super Bowl. What has to go right? I'm going to ask him those things, have him do about 3 apiece, storylines, 3 ways the Vikings can win the Super Bowl. But what I want to do with you guys and gals right now is to reveal 5 predictions for the Vikings season. Now, these aren't necessarily bowl predictions. There's articles on VikingsTerritory.com, our site for that. These are reasonable predictions that if you want to hold me accountable afterward, I will stand by these. Now, when you do bold predictions, those are supposed to be zany and out there. These aren't that. These are honest to goodness, palpable predictions that I believe will come true. So 1 through 5 ranked in no particular order. I'm going to start with the first one. I think it's exciting because I do believe that it happens this Sunday. The Vikings, this is number 1 of my predictions. The Vikings will win a game by 17 points or more for the first time since 2019 this year. Now, I've said this before on the show. You might recall in 2019, there was a game where Afadi Adenabo scored a defensive touchdown and did the sword thing like in his belt. And the Vikings beat the shit out of the Chargers at that makeshift stadium. I think that was in Los Angeles, StubHub Field. Wherever StubHub Field is where that game was. And that was the last time that the Vikings just shellacked an opponent. They have not beat somebody by 17 or more points in 4 years. So I believe that happens once this year, maybe even multiple times, maybe twice. And I won't pigeonhole myself into which game that will be, but I will say that I do think the Vikings will win this Sunday, and that there's not a better time on the schedule to get off the schneid winning by 17 plus points, let's just call it a blowout, than the Buccaneers. The Vikings somehow, some way have their easiest game of the season on the schedule right out of the gate. Especially if you look at folks' power rankings. Now, again, I'll say the Bucs are not a horrible team. Their personnel is not gross like the Cardinals. They're actually a pretty decent team per roster talent, but you have Baker Mayfield at the helm, the post-Tom Brady era getting underway here. And so the Buccaneers really, comparatively on the Vikings schedule, aren't that daunting. So I think if there's any game where this can happen, this blowout, 17 points or more, it'll be this game. So my first prediction on the whole is the Vikings finally blow out an opponent. It's been way too damn long. December of 2019 should never have. I mean, all they do is win close games. In 2020 and 2021, they were losing a lot of them because the defense was melting down. But they got with the program last year and won every close game until they got to the postseason game. All right, number 2. This better happen. Christian Darrisaw finally gets his Pro Bowl recognition. Now, he probably didn't deserve it the first year. It took him a while to get on the field. And then last year, beyond the shadow of a doubt, he was one of the best offensive tackles in the sport. Pro Football Focus will tell you all about it. The only OT who was better than Christian Darrisaw was his idol, Trent Williams. But then the concussion showed up, and I guess that is that's what disqualified Darrisaw from the Pro Bowl. But I think now that there's 2 years of a resume, he doesn't really have bad games. This year, we hope he stays concussion-free and healthy. And I think that Darrisaw will mimic what he has done the last 2 seasons and especially last year. And bada bing, finally get off the Pro Bowl schneid. And at this time in 4 months, we'll be saying, boom, Christian Darrisaw, first-time Pro Bowler, because he will have deserved it. Now, that's like the antithesis of bold prediction. Darrisaw gets a Pro Bowl, but it has to be said because it hasn't happened yet. So that is my second prediction, that bar none, Christian Darrisaw, alas, gets a Pro Bowl honor. Number 3, you're not going to like this one. Not all of these things are sunshine and rainbows. Justin Jefferson will not hit 2,000 yards receiving. And I don't say this because I'm a Jefferson critic at all, but I'm trying to be realistic. So nobody has done that. If anybody was going to do it, it probably would be Jefferson. But here's the deal. There's a couple things working against Jefferson that are a little strange, but they need to be said out loud. All offseason long, starting in March, might have even started before that, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, Kevin O'Connell, Alexander Mattison, Josh Oliver, all of these guys said that we have a commitment to run the ball more in 2023. The Vikings ranked third worst per rush play calling percentage. I guess I shouldn't say worst, third least in rush play call percentage, which means if the Vikings were on the field on offense, they were throwing the rock all over the place. And that's fine and dandy. We love to see it, and it's no surprise whatsoever that a former quarterback would just throw in his first year, but you have to have equity because running the ball enables you to control time of possession. I don't care about, running the football is bad for analytics. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just being able to control the tempo of the game so that a young defense isn't on the field all of the time. Last year, it was not necessarily a young defense, but it was a defense. It was older, and it took a while, or it flat out wasn't very good. It was good in the fourth quarters of games, but generally speaking, the Vikings defense struggled. Well, one way to help fix that is to run the football, keep the defense off the field. So pronounced Vikings leaders have said for 7 months that they're going to run the football more. That means you're not going to pass it as much, and therefore Jefferson won't get quite as many targets. Now, the target load might be equitable, but I think if you're going to run the football more, you're going to have to sacrifice something, which means throwing the ball. And secondarily, there are a lot of mouths to feed in this Vikings awesome offense, especially through the air. You have Jefferson, who's going to, hopefully lead the NFL in targets. And then went and drafted Jordan Addison. He better get a lion's share because otherwise, why'd you draft him? Then you got KJ Osborne, who's a damn good WR2 and WR3. By the way, Jalen Naylor is pretty fast, and everybody loves him. And then you just signed TJ Hawkinson to the largest tight end deal in history. That is a lot of dudes to throw the ball at. So if you think that Jefferson's going to get 2,000 yards, and then Addison's going to get a standard good rookie stat line of 700, 800 yards, by the way, Osborne's going to get his 700. Oh, and Hawkinson's getting 1,000 yards. That means Cousins going to have to throw for like 5,500 yards. And I don't know if that's on the way. Ergo, I don't think Jefferson shatters the 2,000 receiving yards barrier. I think he'll get damn close again. But the way that the Vikings have aligned this offseason per personnel and per the stuff they're saying, they want to run the ball more. We added Jordan Addison. We have Hawkinson for a full season. Jefferson's receiving yard total should actually reduce, if you can believe that. So I hate to be a negative Nancy here, but I do believe that he will fall short of 2,000 receiving yards. Number 4 is one I'm really excited about. The Vikings' new defense under Brian Flores will finish between 12th and 18th per points allowed. Now, DVOA, that stat is now dead, so I can't rely on that to give an efficiency metric. So I'll stick with points allowed. That the defense isn't going to turn into the 49ers defense or the 2017 Vikings defense, but I do firmly believe that it will get better. All offseason, we've had to listen to the dialogue that said, oh, they lost Eric Kendricks. Oh, they lost Patrick Peterson, Zadarius Smith. I understand those guys are beloved, but I think Kwesi Adolpho-Mensah asked himself, are these guys going to get better next year and the year after that? No. Almost all, besides Dalvin Tomlinson, almost every person the Vikings said goodbye to was a player who likely wasn't trending up, and that's why they don't work here anymore. So I believe the combination of youth and speed on defense, coupled with Brian Flores' tutelage, I do think the Vikings defense gets to the middle of the pack. You won't be able to fully trust it at all times, but it'll be better than Donatel's. So the Vikings defense per points allowed finishes in the middle between 12th and 18th. That's my 4th prediction. And then number 5 is standard. I've teased this or flat out said it on this show, is the Vikings are going to finish 11-6. This was my prediction last year. They exceeded it, went 13-4. I do not think they'll be impeccable in one-score games again. So I think they come back down to earth at 11-6. 11-6, which still should signal a NFC North crown. I've also said I think the Packers are still going to be pretty good. I am cynical enough to believe that Jordan Love is going to be at least decent. And for the umpteenth time, I'm going to say from the Detroit Lions, I need to see it to believe it. If they turn out to be great, I will eat crow and be like, oh, yeah, everybody else was right. And I don't think the Lions are bad or anything, but it's very odd to me that every NFL pundit, every NFL sportsbook has crowned the Lions the king of the North, and these are the Lions that have the same reputation of the as the Browns did about 6-7 years ago. I think that they need to prove it first. I don't really care that they beat the Packers in Week 18 last year to go 8-9. Nobody cares. That was great for vibes. I loved it, and I'm sure you loved it. But there's a lot more to an NFL season than just beating a rival to cancel them from the playoffs. You can't start 1-6 again. You're probably not going to get off to a good start out of the gate, 2 nights from now against the Chiefs. So I do think the Lions will be good, but I don't know that I'm terribly afraid of them like every NFL expert has said. These Lions they're on Hard Knocks, baby. They're going to be good. They're coming for you. Good. Bring them on. We shall see if they effectuate this big offseason promise. All right, number 1, Vikings will win a game in blowout fashion, 17 points or more. Number 2, Christian Darrisaw finally gets a Pro Bowl, year 3. Probably should have got one last year. Regrettably, number 3, Justin Jefferson doesn't quite hit 2,000 yards. Number 4, the defense finishes between 12th and 18th or so for points allowed, being a respectable defense, not totally gangbusters like 2017. And then the Vikings win the NFC North, finish 11-6. The offense really clicks, and the defense is right there, better than Donatel's version of it, but still not, a elite Zimmer defense. All right, we'll be back with Josh Fry tomorrow to chat with him about the Bucs game and how the Vikings can win a Super Bowl if they've got it in their bones. Skol, baby.